There is always a way if the desire be coupled with courage. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Robert E. Howard's Red Nails. Red Nails was written in 1935 and published in 1936 after Howard's death. It is the last Conan story, similar in ways to the earlier Zuthal of the Dust. It's in a Lost World setting, in the vein of H. Rider Haggard, she in particular, though with much more action. The story starts with Valeria, a warrior woman of the Red Brotherhood. She has fled for her life for killing a Stygian. Conan followed after, killing her pursuers. He comes not to return her to Zarallo and his free companions, though. If you want expanded material, the latest Conan novel, Blood of the Serpent, I believe it's called, if I'm remembering correctly, by S.M. Sterling, is a prequel to this, actually. But this one is longer. It's longer than a lot of the other stories. It doesn't waste time getting into the weird action, though. In fact, there's an eldritch take on a dragon near the start for your dragon lovers. There is some racism towards sub-Saharan Africans here. Valeria herself is kind of a more powerful character compared to some of the other women in Conan stories. She's fierce, and where you'd think Conan might take advantage of her, he doesn't, which I found a pleasant surprise. Surprise with a Z, though, by the way. Anyways, while she does escape many stereotypes, she doesn't in others, and so will feel like it was written in the 1930s, right, like the racism as well. For example, she has feminine vanity, apparently. And these cartoon depictions of women are all too common, but getting over that, there's much to enjoy here. But more so than the strength on display, it is maybe more cruelty than normal. There's torture, though not really explicit, and it is also more sexual. There's some humor, right, with the conversation about the many roles Conan has taken, right? There's a quote, it's like, is there anything you haven't done? He's like, I've never been king of a Hyborian kingdom, which, of course, Conan does become king eventually, but even though this is the last one written, it's not the last chronologically. In fact, in the first Conan story written, he is a king already, so... this is generally a favorite of Conan fans. This is not a favorite of mine. I enjoyed it, but it's not a favorite. And it's really not bad. You can... Wait. It's very similar to some of his earlier stories. So, for example, I enjoyed Zuthal of the Dust more, actually. And Conan is very much Conan in all of his stories. He's not completely thoughtless and dumb, right? I mean, like, he is actually a good king when he's king stories. But they're all decently similar. They're all of a similar vein. And so maybe I just read this one too close to another. I did read The Hour of the Dragon shortly before reading this. So one thing that this story gets a lot of hype for, actually, is because you can see Howard's depression kind of on display. Kind of like I said, it's grittier. There's torture and more explicit than normal. Howard he always puts himself into stories. He always gives off sparks in his stories, and the way he forces them out and forces them into existence. And that's always really fun and nice. But you can tell he's struggling here. And though he wouldn't die for another year or so, he would write more stories, just no more Conan stories, because they weren't really making him money. And I think Weird Tales was behind on their payments at this point. You can see him struggling in it. And that, I hate to say, the stereotype romantics or artists in general, but it does make for a good story. It's unfortunate that he wasn't able to overcome it and that he committed suicide the following year. But it's not the end of the journey for me, for Robert E. Howard. I actually kind of skipped ahead and read I read this. This is the last Conan story. I was reading them in publication order, so I still have some more Conan stories to read. I'm not sure when I'll get to those, though. Anyways, enjoyable. If you haven't read any Robert E. Howard, maybe you could read this one first. I don't see why not. A lot of people like it. So anyways, Liam from Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.